Okay, it's 8:30. We'll call the meeting to order with a pledge of allegiance. We have an invitation for a citizen to schedule time on commission agenda for item not listed. Is there any citizens? None. Approval of agenda. Any additions or corrections? No additions or corrections. Approved as read. Consent agenda items. Approval of minutes. Approval of travel and education requests. Approval of personal action notices, and approval of the human services report. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
We had a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Routine business. Approval of claims.
Move approval.
We had a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Miller? Aye. Krogman?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Letter B, department head reports. Bob, would you like to start?
Good morning. The full-scale exercise that was scheduled for Mitchell that I discussed last meeting, I gave you the wrong date. It's actually August 26th, which is this Saturday, and the location's going to be Huron. They've got a location just outside the city, or might even be within the city limits, that they're going to put a vehicle that has had the engine removed out into a lake, and they're going to send divers in to go get it. Our responsibility is to be the emergency operations center, so I'm going to bring Richard in. Me and Richard's going to drive over first thing in the morning, set up the emergency operations center. I'm going to have to break loose, come back into Brookings, and then go back out to Huron later in the day, which is actually how it would probably work in real life. So to me, it's a good full-scale exercise, and it gives us the opportunity to give Richard some training that he hasn't had in the emergency operations center yet. August the 1st, we had a zoning meeting. I think I talked about that. We did have our tri-state meeting scheduled for Sioux Falls. The weather, they said to take a dartboard and throw darts at it, and that's about what they know about the weather coming up. It's going to be hit and miss. We did have an LEPC meeting on August the 17th. We reviewed our hazardous materials plan and made updates to that. So that follows our strategic plan. That's part of our strategic plan, is to review that document once a year. We had a planning meeting on August the 17th. It was scheduled for 7 p.m. in this chamber. It lasted a total of 7 minutes. We opened the meeting, read the public notice, noticed that the public notice had an error in it. Since it was not published correctly, we tabled it until next month and shut the meeting down, and everybody went home. We very well couldn't have a meeting on a it's the planning commission's thoughts that anything that would have been discussed in that meeting, since it was a public hearing, it was best just to go ahead and shut it down and start over when it's published the right way. And it is what it is, and we'll go from there. And of course, we're working with the deputy state's attorney to make sure that our legal notice has the proper language this time to cover everything that we plan on meeting on. And this is on the administrative section only. It's not anything else on the ordinance. It's that administrative section of the planning ordinance. Oh, next, we got a safety committee meeting tomorrow morning. I got a Region 6 OEM meeting in Mitchell on Thursday. Next week, August the 30th, there is a CapEx 2020 dedication near White. Richard's definitely going to it, and I may, depending on what's on the agenda. August the 31st in the morning, I will be in Huron. In the afternoon, I will be back on conference calls. September 5 through 8, I will be in Washington, D.C. at a U.S. Department of Transportation pipeline meeting. I will be attending the zoning meeting on September the 5th on the conference phone. So I'll call in and be in the background on the zoning meeting that night on September the 5th. South Dakota Emergency Management Association's meeting in Deadwood, September 10th through 14th. About the same time, a day or two off, the South Dakota Planners Association is meeting in Spearfish. So I'm sending Richard to one conference. I'm going to the Emergency Management Conference, and Raylyn will be holding the fort down back here. While she's holding the fort down, she's going to be preparing for September 15th, which is our National Preparedness Day event in Brookings County. We'll have a couple of weather radios as door prizes. We'll have cookies and juice, and we'll set up all of our, or usually it's winter weather preparedness for what you would have in a vehicle, and then we also have we'll set up a kit that's like the 3-day supplies you should keep in your house all year long in case there is a disaster. And it would just be a preparedness day. The whole month of September is actually the National Preparedness Month, and September 15th has been designated as quote-unquote D-Day, so. Should I wait a minute?
No, go ahead.
September 17th through 20th, I will be in the South Dakota Association of County Commissioners meeting in Rapid City. Our grant submission, it's been settled to request $9,000 from the U.S. Department of Transportation to do two tabletop exercises and 2 public open houses. One will be in Yankton, one will be in Huron. And on that grant submission, we're requesting $9,000, and then our match will also be approximately $9,000. And our match will be basically my salary and benefits and all that. I wanted to make sure the commission was aware of that before that. Today's the deadline. It's going to be submitted in when I leave here. But basically what that would mean is for me to travel to Yankton to schedule the planning meeting, which has got to be 3 or 4 different meetings before you even have the exercise. If I use my personal vehicle, I get paid mileage through the grant, not through the county. But there'd be no salary reimbursement. The salary's basically, since I'm salaried type thing. There'd be no reimbursement from the federal grant for my salary. There will be reimbursement for anything that we do that does not count. The problem that we run into, and I hopefully I told you the first time about the grant, the emergency management whole program in Brookings County is done by the state and local agreement, which is the Department of Homeland Security FEMA program. The pipeline grant's not. It's a Department of Transportation. So you got different pots of money, and you can't mix the two. So, but I think we can do the match by the county paying the salary, because the SLA doesn't cover my complete salary anyway. Is that clear as mud, or do you? And of course, Vicki will have copies of literally everything that goes out because she is the overall grant person. So, and any money spent and any claims obviously goes through the finance office. There's nothing done that doesn't come through you guys on this. So, and it's fully auditable. Not only by the Homeland Security side, it's also auditable by the Department of Transportation. So they make sure you don't do anything too shady. And last but not least, we have got a carbon dioxide issue or problem near Aurora. At night, when the clouds lay low and there's an inversion, there's some carbon dioxide being disseminated throughout the area. A couple different houses, people was complaining that they're getting sick, and some of them's had air tests done, and it's like a hour, maybe 2 or 3 hour period at night that carbon dioxide levels shoot up, and then they drop back down. During the day, you go out there right now, there'd be no carbon dioxide problem whatsoever because the air is agitating the wind's agitating the air. So right now, the readings are not high enough for the EPA to get involved. I've contacted the EPA, and they're not high enough to get involved. The state of South Dakota has issued some air quality permits for companies in that area, but unfortunately, carbon dioxide is not covered under either one of them. So it's an issue my office is working on, but we don't have an answer yet, and I needed to keep this board involved that we are discussing it, and we don't know what's going on yet. And we'll keep plugging away at it. Any questions? That's the end of my report.
That's in Aurora City?
No, ma'am, that's in the county, between the city of Aurora and the city of Brookings.
Okay, is it north or south or east or west of Aurora?
It is west.
Okay,
And we do have some companies there, and they're involved. Some of their environmental health safety people are aware of the issue, and they've done some of their own testing, and the private parties have done some testing. And so we got it narrowed down to basically, we know it's carbon dioxide. The question is, what's emitting the carbon dioxide at that time?
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Misty? Okay. Mike?
Good morning. I really don't have a whole lot to say. It does appear as if the welfare contacts are going up some. Recently, we had 21 in the last 2 weeks. The veterans, a lot of the veterans are coming in quite well, and we're doing quite a few claims again, some with Agent Orange, some with hearing loss, and we had 31 in the last 2 weeks. We did get 100 phone calls in, and we made 84 phone calls out. I just got back from Pier, where we had a week-long veterans training, a 4-day-long veterans training. And next, on the 5th, I will be going for another week-long veteran training, and that's paid for by the Enlisted Association. That's all I have.
That's cool. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Marty?
Morning. I don't have a lot to report either. The jail, we made it through the weekend, opening weekend of SDSU, which we were busy at the jail, but it wasn't SDSU that was causing the problem. It was just the regular. We had a couple in and outs, what I call catches and releases from SDSU. Otherwise, it was nothing to do with SDSU. Numbers are down as I gave you for the report for the jail report on the 24/7 program. We have 99 participants, which is I hope a good sign. It may go back up. I don't know, but we were 125, 135 participants, and they were coming in 1,400 times a month, and now they're only coming in 1,200 times during July. So. Talking about the jail also is that on the north side now is that I only have 4 that are on work release, and I'm not sure all 4 of them right now have vehicles. I think 2 out of the 4 had vehicles. And they're parking over at the 21 building. And then anybody that comes that is sentenced and they bring a vehicle, we're asking that they be dropped off or a family member come and get the vehicle. And so I'm eliminating the parking on the north side. And we made permits and put in on the dash on those vehicles that are over there now. Also, I moved my 2 transport cars that were parked parallel on the north side. And it makes sense to move them in that parking lot across from the sheriff's office anyway, just for the fact is normally during the season, and I shouldn't say the season, that's not a bad, they get vandalized like every year as people walk by. They're either scratched or a mirror gets broken off. And so it'll be better if they're over parked and eliminate that. So that street is pretty open now. Now, when you go to traffic safety, that's an interesting group because the one traffic and safety committee that Commissioner Pearson and myself attended, the traffic and safety voted to put a four-way stop and put a bump out. They voted to do that. Well, then they contacted me and said that the city manager overruled that because of money. They're not going to do the bump out, and because you can't do the bump out, you can't do the four-way stop, which is fine. And so I attended the traffic and safety meeting last week, or last month, and their recommendation is that they were going to, at that time, they weren't going to move the stop sign on 7th Avenue because it's on a pole, or it's on a light pole. And throughout the city, they're removing street lights, okay? Some of the street lights are going back in, some of the street lights aren't going back in. I guess evidently it's up to the city if they replace the street lights. Now, they took 2 off out of that area on 4th Street and 7th Avenue. But now they have replaced 2. They put one in front of the Presbyterian Church. Then they did remove the post that the stop sign was on, which that the traffic and safety said they weren't. But they did move that and put a new light pole there, the smaller light pole, and they do have the stop sign closer to the intersection. Now, it's my understanding the city is going to paint a yellow on both sides of 7th Avenue on the north or on the south side, another 40 feet. So that will eliminate about 2 parking spots, I think, north of the jail, and then it's going to limit some parking to the east so that when you are facing north, you can see the intersection better. So that's where we're at now on that intersection. Now, I had 6 trailers at the 21 parking lot. 2 of them, there was 2 Harley-Davidson trailers, and then all of a sudden a camper showed up. I found out who those are, and there was a resident that lived down the block. I wrote him a letter. They have moved those 3 trailers. So there's 3 trailers still there, but 2 of them belong to Interlakes Action, and the other one belongs to Life Touch, which has also got an office there. So we need to decide how you're going to, if we're going to allow them to keep their enclosed trailers there or whatever. We can discuss what you want to do with that. But I am just that way. When this ordinance becomes effective, it might be a little less to try to get some of these vehicles out of there. So that's where we're at so far. I also would like to put 2 cameras over in that parking lot so that we can watch that parking lot. I'm working with a couple vendors now for prices, so I just want to make sure that commission is okay with that. I think we need to monitor that parking lot once we start putting more vehicles over there. Because to some degree, we may be responsible a little bit for inmate cars. And where they were on the north side, I had a camera watching that, and now I don't because they're over there. So if the commission's okay with that, I just like to continue on doing that.
Just a question, Marty, would that also provide security for the gym?
Yes.
As far as the cameras are
Yeah.
concerned, it'll,
Absolutely.
because
Yep.
I think if you're going to do that,
Yep.
it'd be nice to have that covered also.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll get them so it covers, the whole area. So, okay. Very good. Another thing is that yesterday, it's short notice. Yesterday, I received information from, we get a highway safety grant every year, 5+ years of doing the highway safety grant. They want to have a meeting on the 30th. And so I won't be able to get a travel voucher in, or a request in soon enough. Sergeant John Pike is the one that oversees that grant, but also Matt Christensen, who's works in the office, is he keeps records on the computer and stuff. He's really knowledgeable when it comes to Zerker and that. So I got to send both of them to that. So I just, like I say, it's after the travel request will be in after the fact. So, but it's just a 4-hour class. And it's mandatory. As long as I get the grant, it's mandatory. I still haven't heard anything on our COPS grant. Waiting to hear about if we've been selected for additional deputy. Also, SDSU athletics is we had a meeting with athletics and SDSU police and city police and myself, and SDSU's reaching out. They'd like to have help at the tailgating again. Now, I was going to work, we did last year, we worked the highway. to keep, because there was complaints out there that the first football game, nobody worked the highway, and then they started parking on both sides of the road, and got some complaints from truckers traveling through and so forth. So then SDSU hired my office, and I put 2 to 3 deputies out there, and we kept everybody off the highway. They pay $45 an hour. So I keep my staff on city time, or county overtime, and then I get reimbursed from SDSU for their wages. The highway patrol has stepped up. They said that they would monitor the highway, keep the cars parked off the highway. So SDSU is reaching out and wants some help from the city police and myself for tailgating. And I said that I would supply them with a couple deputies, volunteer if, I'm not going to make it mandatory, but I do have 3 deputies that will work tailgating. So I just want to let you know that that's my intentions to do that. And so if you're up there at tailgating and you see one of my guys walking around, you know what's going on. And so we're going to do that. I think there's 6 home games. So any objections to that at all? Okay.
I think there will be. We were at a meeting the other day, and there's some parking concerns because of the construction up there is taking up some parking spots. So hopefully people park in alternate sites and take a beta bus or something there.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. I know they're trying to do some extra things, and it's going to be a mess up there. They're doing, we're still going to have the traffic lights on the bypass, but some of them are going to go to flashing. The one at 22nd Avenue will stay rotating, but they're going to give us a remote control. And so I was going to have a deputy sit up there and work it remotely. Well, now we're going to work the tailgating, so the highway patrol is going to have to do that. So we'll see how that goes. But otherwise, the rest of them are going to stay yellow to keep things, because otherwise it's going to be just a mess up there. So we'll see how the first game goes. So the other thing is that in case anybody asks, and Sergeant Pike is in charge of this, is that he sent around some asking for funding requests for AEDs for my vehicles. Now, in a way, this is kind of a sore subject with me. Just for some background, is that in 2000, 2 families donated money for AEDs. One went to the police department, and one went to the sheriff's office, because I had one just out north of town, and the city had one. And at that time, Jan Kleitz, who was the head of the emergency room nurses and stuff, so forth, I don't know where she got her grant, if it was a foundation grant or whatever, but she bought the police department and myself, or my office, 14 AEDs. So they were able to equip their cars with AEDs, and I was able to equip my cars with AEDs. We got really good AEDs. But the trouble is that there's been 2 software upgrades, and so they're on their last software upgrade, and so they still work good. It's just that they need to be replaced. Now, I had heard that the city police had got a grant, that they were getting a grant for their AEDs, but I called over there and talked to one person, and they said I needed to talk to the chief. And the chief says, well, I'll get back to you on what we're doing. Well, they never got back to me. Well, then I found out in the paper that they did a fundraiser from the hospital foundation, and they got $20,000 for the police department, but of course I wasn't included in that, so I'm not crying foul. It's just I'm a little disappointed that my office wasn't included in that fundraising. And so now we're going on our own to do that. And First Bank and Trust says that they would donate money for one AED, which is very nice, because they're about $3,000 for these AEDs. So our AEDs are still good. There's no risk that they're not. In fact, one of my deputies went to a cardiac arrest over at Lake Hendricks. Lake Hendricks Hospital came and says, let's use yours. So we still got good AEDs, but they're on their last software upgrade. So I just want, if anybody asks you, that's what's going on, because I did have a person that got a fundraising letter says, well, shouldn't this be a budget thing for you? And maybe it should have been. Maybe I should have budgeted a new one each year, but I didn't. But like I said, I thought we would do this together when we upgraded, and it didn't work out. See, so now, that's kind of where we're at with that. So in case any of these businesses come in and say, well, why are you doing this? And we didn't use county money to buy them originally. They came from I take it from the foundation, the hospital foundation's where I take it from, but I'm not sure, but Jan Kleitz got us, like I said, 14 of them, I think, back in 2000. Also, this week there's a jury trial, so it's keeping my security people in the state's attorney's office busy, so anyway.
The AEDs, when you talk about they're on their last software update, how long a period of time is that update good for? Do they have a certification expiration date on the AEDs, or is it just you can continue to use them, there's just no additional software updates because they've changed them?
Right.
Okay.
Basically, that is, they're still
one-
okay. I've had
1
them
year,
checked
2
out.
years? Are they okay 1 year, 2 years, or what do we got time-wise?
You know, it's they can't tell me. That's
Okay.
the thing. They just said that you should start thinking about getting, because you can't update them anymore. So they're functional, they work good. Actually, the hospital, the head of the ambulance, Gordon, is really good with us with these AEDs. He's the one that makes sure that
The updates?
they get the updates and stuff. So it's just they can't be updated anymore. So my guys have to, every time they go in the car, they're supposed to test their AED to make sure it's functioning. So, and batteries is a big thing sometimes. The batteries last 2 or 3 years, but that we test them every day to make sure that they're functional.
So during that period of time that you've had this set from that grant, how many times have those gotten used, do you know?
Oh, wow.
A lot?
Yeah, it's more than a person thinks, you know. But you know, if you only use them once, and if you save
Exactly.
somebody, you know, it's well worth it and stuff. So, you know, I don't know how many. You know, maybe you know, sometimes it might be 2-3 times a year, and I guess I've never kept track, to be honest.
That might be something that would help with the fundraising.
Yeah. Other than that, I guess unless you have some questions.
Marty, of your 24/7, and see you got 20 or 99, would you have any idea how many of those people actually drive to the jail, and how many would have to walk there?
Most of them either get rides or walk. I guess I can't tell you a number or something.
Okay,
But most of those on that don't have driver's licenses.
okay.
There would be a few there that are on a work permit, and if they're on a 30-day work permit or longer, then they have to be on the 24/7. It's something I could do. I could keep track though. I could do that.
I was just curious.
A lot of them are someone brings them or they ride a bike or walk.
Okay.
I had a couple other questions. The bump out that we talked to the Safety Traffic Committee about, did you ever hear what that would cost?
Yeah, we did get. We got an estimate, but I guess I can't remember what the estimate was right off the top of my head. Someone did give us an estimate on that.
Stacy, I think you were going to talk to somebody about that. Did you hear anything, or?
I did not know I was supposed to double check on that.
You and I talked about that. You were going to talk to the city engineer.
You got one, Stacy. You got it. I got it in my file. I'm sure I do.
An estimate?
Yeah.
I know we got drawings.
Yeah. No,
of
I got
what
it.
could
I'll
potentially
let you
look
know.
like.
Well, the only reason I'm
I'll look.
asking is I don't know how expensive that is, but that bump out might be for, if we do our expansion project there, that might be something that we'd want to talk to the city about, maybe sharing the cost or something, because that would be important for our project if we go that direction, and it'd be nice to know what it costs. And then over at our parking lot, is there a sign over there that says that that's a county parking lot?
We'll have to sign it.
And I wonder if we shouldn't have a sign that says courthouse and detention center parking, Brookings County Courthouse and detention center parking, so that people know that that parking is available for the courthouse overflow stuff. But
Yeah, I don't have an issue with that. I just, we need to sign it. We need to sign it as soon as we, and then, we need to know what the fine will be. I don't know. I've not read the ordinance yet, so I don't know if we have a fine, because I have to make tickets up yet.
Right.
So I'll have to make up ticket books with the fine on there, so
But it would be nice on the sign to say that courthouse parking goes there, so that people start thinking about that when they're driving the courthouse.
And then when you put the cameras up, you have to put a sign up that's saying this is survey, in this parking lot is
Don't
surveyed.
have to, but I can do that. I mean, it could be a deterrent.
That's what I was thinking.
I don't have an issue with that either.
When you do
That this
that,
parking lot is under surveillance. A lot of places do that, have that there.
That might help with even having the surveillance there, help with some of the employees at the courthouse would use it too.
Right. And even for the employees of the 21 building, too. So that's not an issue. There's a lot of places we'll do that. We'll put this is under, this parking lot's under surveillance, or this school is under surveillance, or this store.
if you put that, a sign up that says that, is it more likely the cameras will be stolen?
We'll put it in other places. We're going to put the cameras so we watch the sign, because someone will take my sign. My guess the signs will go right before the cameras. The cameras are going to be up pretty high. We got a couple places where we're going to put them, so they're going to have to climb. If they're not scared of heights, maybe they'll get them. So then I'd ask if Dick will help me put the signs up, because his staff.
Jump on. You can jump on Marty's shoulders.
So I'm not sure if the ordinance has a fine in it yet. I have not read it yet, the ordinance, so. But we just need to do that, then I'll get the ticket books going, and we've already got a permit that the inmate cars, and we put a permit thing on and lay it on the dash or on the front seat so that we know that that's an inmate car, so.
If you get those cost estimates on that bump out, could you forward those to us?
Sure.
I'd like to
I'm
see
sure I got something in my, 10,000 sticks out in my mind, but I'm not sure. I probably shouldn't bring that, because I'm not sure. But I got something, I know I did on an estimate. So I will check my stuff.
It just looks to me like that may be something we just include in our construction costs and take care of on our own, so it's not an issue.
Because that's my understanding why the city manager overruled the traffic and safety, is because it wasn't in this year's budget or next year's budget. That was my understanding, so.
Okay.
I'll look.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'd like to welcome Brittany. Thank you for being here. The bridge north of Bruce is almost done. I hope this is the last time I have to tell you that, but the rails are up on the bridge. They're waiting on the contractor to come and finish the end rails, and then a little bit of dirt work, but we're hoping to get the road open even if the dirt work and seeding is not done. They're getting anxious, and I am too, to hopefully, I'd like to see it by the end of the week be open. The bridge deck rehab started on Highway 6 east of Bruce. If you remember, is our preservation grant from 2016. It's going well. Right now, it's in the process of a curing process, and so they will be back as soon as it cures so that they can open that lane to traffic and begin on the other, on the eastbound is done. The westbound will be starting soon. Holloway is scheduled to move in tomorrow to start on our small structures and to fix the bridge on 6. So that will add a little congestion in the northeast part of the county. And then our crew is busy installing culverts, starting to mow, and completing the preparations for chip sealing operations, which we plan on starting in right after Labor Day, and also getting ready for paint striping, which will begin in September 11th. We'll also be hiring them under state contract to do some of our projects that are being done so that we don't have any areas that are unstriped or temporary striping till it gets completed. And other than that, there's just a couple things coming up on the agenda that you might have questions on, but if anyone else has any questions.
The Moody County issue with chip sealing. I just heard on the radio, and they said it had to do with the rain. What actually happened there?
Well, it could have been two different things. One was the road might have had a little too much moisture. I don't think that was the case necessarily. But they shoot an emulsion, which is water-based, instead of ours using a solvent. And so it probably hadn't had time to totally cure out, even though it should happen very rapidly. And then we got that amount of rain over that period of time, and it just all separated. And usually when it rolls up on the tires, it's more that the oil is separated from the surface and it's all giving way. So we went out and helped them on Thursday then to recover it and roll it again. But it's one of those unfortunate things that once it starts, it doesn't quit until the weather improves, which would dry it out and allow it to set up better. So I think that's about it. But we had quite a few phone calls where fortunately we were just a participant, not a overseer or whatever. But,
Okay,
any other-
thank
thanks.
you. Finance officer report.
Vicky is gone today, so she just said to review the be it noted items, the auditor's account with the treasurer, payroll and additive totals, highway expenditure report, and register of deeds statement of fees. I have included the general fund surplus analysis information with my report, but as you can see on this, we're at 32.62%, which is, if you look at my stuff in my report later, we're in pretty good shape. It's high on the high end for if you average out and look at July's over the last several years. So we're in pretty good shape there, but I think that's it for that.
Question on that. When we assign the funds for the OAC, that's going to affect that, right? Any idea? We haven't done that yet, right?
I think we're just drawing it.
We will,
Because then we say 500 out of,
yes, we will
Out of the
take
county building
500,000 out of
Building.
general fund.
no, building fund, and then 475
Yeah,
out of
475 out of general and 500 out of the building fund. So at 475 will affect this, yes.
And we're doing that at our September meeting, is that?
September
right?
5th meeting, yes.
Thank you.
Is that it then, Stacy? Okay, moving on to, we have a 9:30, but we'll move on to regular business. Action to remove the first reading of ordinance number 2017-01 from the table. First reading of ordinance number 2017-01, an ordinance restricting the time allowed for parking in the county parking lot located at lot 101 of the replat of block 10 of the second edition of the city of Brookings, Brookings County, South Dakota, to no more than 48 hours. I look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to remove it from the table.
You got a motion and a second? We call the roll.
Krogman?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Miller? Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
What's that? Second reading and public hearing will be September 26, 2017 at 9:15 a.m. So we, I guess, have a chance to read that and review it. Letter B, action to approve resolution number 17-38, a resolution amending resolution number 06-61 and establishing an updated fee schedule for building permits, conditional use permits, variances, and rezoning.
I would move approval.
Second.
And a motion and a second. Discussion? Leanne, you have background here?
Go ahead.
Just, and I don't know, oh, Bob left. There's Bob. He's not sitting
He's
over there
already
anymore.
sitting there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you going to give the background?
If you'd like it.
Yep,
Yeah.
please.
This is, the last time we updated this ordinance, I believe, was 2006. And we went through the equalization department, and the square footage calculations that we was using was quite antiquated. So we updated the square foot calculations, and we added, the biggest thing we added was an attached garage. We request 3 inspections versus 2. And the main reason for that is if you attach a garage to a house, it has to have a firewall. And historically, we've been finding they haven't been putting those in unless we go out on that 3rd inspection and force them to do it. So that's why we requested this update. And I believe it also adds copying fees that we did not have in our original ordinance or resolution.
When you say the square footage was antiquated, what do you mean? What are you updating, the cost per square footage?
Yeah,
or-
our initial square footage cost, I believe, was, well, I don't have the ordinance in front of me. Whatever the square footage cost was in 2007, it has increased across the board. So we went in, we had equalization review this document, and they came back with a recommendation that the square footage to build a new house from ground up costs more than what our old resolution had in it.
Right, so increased costs have gone up.
Correct.
Right. The former cost is in the bank, and
Yeah, and we did it that way, so it's not us trying to gouge people. I mean, it's based on building facts and.
So based on the cost of their house?
Being constructed, new houses being constructed is what this is based
It's
on.
not based on the square footage?
It's how much it costs to build a 50,000 square foot building in 2006 versus 2017. The price has just gone up, and that's all we did was to match the square footage rate.
Square footage rate, okay. I'm not sure what we're basing the value on. Is the value based on the square footage, or is it, or the cost of our fee?
If a citizen in Brookings County comes in and gives me a quote from a contractor, we use that quote.
Okay. And so it's based on that price?
If a person comes in and tells me, I don't have a clue what it's going to cost me, I'm building it myself, then we have to use the square footage cost. That's why we use it.
Okay, so you're updating those costs for that, but then otherwise, and so the fee is based off the value of the building?
Basically, yes, sir.
Unless there is no value at the time, then it's based off a square footage number, which is updated, cost per square foot from the equalization of what that is. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And so then the valuation basis, you're moving it from $45 to $80 per square foot, and that's what we're basing off of equalization. That's the change.
Yes, sir.
And the $40.75 is based off of those two, and that's what the equalization had changed.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And everything else is just, in our opinion, there are minor changes such as adding the inspection and the copying fees. In today's world, the copying fees, we're going digital. We just don't copy them a CD or give it to a digital file versus a paper copy, but we'll still do the paper copy if we have to. But there's a cost involved.
So on the dwellings thing, from the $45 to $80 per square foot, so I'm looking under dwellings, go up a little higher, please. That part right there. So we're almost doubling the fee?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I'm just concerned in my dealings with affordable housing and different things like that. These fees also go on to the contractor, which gets forwarded on to the home buyer and, and everybody.
But as I stated, we do not use the square foot calculation if they come in with a builder's quote.
Mm-hmm.
so you'll encourage the use of a builder's quote then.
By all means, and we've always done that.
Said the last time that these were updated was 2006.
Yes, sir.
Would it be appropriate that we establish a policy to update them every 5 years rather than doubling them after 11? Would that make sense that we I mean, I don't know how much time this took in your office to complete this, but it would seem to me that we don't want to wait that long again to review this. Just a suggestion.
Yeah, I agree.
We can make a note of that and keep it in our ordinance file to take a look at it. The biggest reason we're looking at it right now is we're updating the ordinance, and the ordinance specifically states this particular language about the resolution for the building permit fees, so that's why we brought it out to take a look at it.
Bob, I can't remember on the conditional use permits, who pays for the noticing on those? Do we pay for that or does the applicant?
We pay for that out of that fee that we charge, ma'am.
So the fee is $100, and generally, what do we charge for or what does it cost us for noticing?
Well, it depends on the location. I mean, it's basically a break even on a typical conditional use, and if it's a humongous wind tower type project, every now and then we go in the red.
I just think that the fee for the conditional use permit for what we spend for noticing isn't high enough. That's just my observation. I think it should be more than $100 because we pay all the costs on the mailings. And we do the mailings, or do they do the mailings to the landowners that are nearby? We do that in addition to the noticing that we put in the paper?
If there's a requirement to have a certified mailing, that is put on the applicant.
Okay.
That
they
is not
pay
put
that.
on us. And we do require them to give us the receipts showing where they mailed the proof of mailing from the applicant. Yeah, I won't sit here and tell you that we're making a killing off of conditional use permits. It was basically to try to break even on it, and we'll do whatever the wishes of the board are on that. But we have to realize it's across the board. You know, we just had to make a decision across. Some counties break it down. You know, if you're building an ethanol plant where you got a different conditional use price versus if you're building a gravel pit, things like that. In Brookings County, from the beginning of zoning, 1976, it was make it countywide, make the cost reasonable, and you know, yep, some people we're going to lose money on some conditional uses, and we're going to make money on other ones.
And generally, I believe that when somebody's requesting, I'm trying to think of an exception to this, a conditional use permit, it's for business purposes, right?
Yes, ma'am. But right now, before we change the ordinance, there is a conditional use in the Lake Park area that for a house, a certain size building up at the lake, but that'll be corrected to a proper variance terminology under the new ordinance.
And I don't know if the rest of you would consider, I think the fee on a conditional use permit maybe should be $200, but maybe you don't want to double that amount. It's been $100. Did it go up on this form?
No, ma'am, it did not go up.
So we haven't changed the fee for the conditional use permit since before 2006. And I can tell you that our staff spends a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of work on these, and I just think that fee is not high enough.
If the board would like, I'll take it back and we'll bring it back to you.
Well, no, we can amend it, but I don't know what the rest of you think.
Mr. Chairman, I guess my thoughts would ride with those non-business applications paying a $200 fee versus $100 fee. Again, it's an application for the permit. It doesn't mean they'll get their conditional use. And so sometimes if you raise the fee, it may discourage some people from even asking for a conditional use because they don't want to spend the $200 to have it turned down. And in some cases, the smaller applicant might have that concern, where obviously a large business operation is not going to have that concern over a $200 one. So I think we have to be somewhat careful there. And if we're going to do something that doubles that particular fee at this point, maybe we need to look at whether it's a business or a personal conditional use application and split the fee, $100 for a personal use application and $200 if it's a large-scale operation or business application. Might be more appropriate to do that than penalize the small guy paying the same as a large business for a conditional use permit.
Mr. Chairman, if I may reply, we don't think that would be an issue, Commissioner. There's only, like I say, it's up on the lakes, and it's only a rare type of building that's constructed, and we are in the process of changing that to a proper terminology of variance anyway. So yeah, I really don't believe that would make a difference in this case. $200 is not, looking at the state, I mean, I saw a flow chart, I don't have it in front of me, so I can't quote it, but they're, our $100 is on the lower end of the scale when it comes to conditional uses.
Then what would variances then would be the same? Are those-
Stay at 100.
Stay at 100? Is that less work or less notice or?
Well,
My-
typically, there's not much difference in a variance or a conditional use. Sometimes they come together, sometimes they package them together, and sometimes, typically when they apply, if they need a variance, instead of being the $100, then it becomes $200 or $300, depends on what variances they need,
But the general run-of-the-mill variance is a residential landowner that wants to build closer to the road right away, and they're looking at the setback, and that should remain at $100. I don't think we need to increase that, or somebody that wants to build maybe a machine shed closer to the side setback than what the ordinance allows. They come in and ask for a variance there, that kind of thing, and I think $100 is reasonable for that. And our zoning office doesn't spend the amount of work and effort and time on those as the conditional use permits for the businesses, which is a big deal thing.
We're not in that to make money. And I'm not sure that doubling it is the route to go. I guess I would look more at a compromise maybe of 150. But I think I don't want the appearance that we're going to make money off of this. And if we're breaking even at 100, why are we doing this? And it is so expensive to live in this day and age as it is. And I just don't feel like, it feels like a tax to me. And I don't want to do that to our citizens.
It's those noticing costs that I'm concerned about, and they're just going to get higher. And we do have to do noticing, some extensive noticing on those conditional use permits, and sometimes we end up noticing more than once.
we do exceed the minimum requirements for noticing, regardless of what people
Right.
would like to say. We instead of doing the legal language says a legal newspaper, which in today's world would be the city of Brookings more than likely. We go out to the local areas where the things located to include newspapers that are not legal papers in Brookings County. We publish in Hendricks, Minnesota, and Arlington, the Arlington Sun, at times. So 150 would be reasonable in my opinion. That would help us to probably stay at that level.
I can live with that.
I can live with that.
Turn this on. I'll make a motion to amend the conditional use permit to $150.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Bartley?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Back to original motion, action to approve the resolution. No more discussion. Call the roll.
Pierce?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Letter C, action to approve resolution number 17-39, a resolution authorizing the purchase of a dump body, hoist, hydraulics, truck plow hitch with options, reversible plow, mid-mount, 10-foot wing, assist axle, pup pole plate, and sand spreader, based upon the price established through the Brookings County bid process.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, call the roll.
Miller?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Letter D, action to approve agreement number 17-64, an agreement between the Brookings County Highway Department, the City of Brookings Street Department, and Johnson Feed Incorporated of Canton, South Dakota for snow and ice removal salt.
Move approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Dick, were the prices comparable again this year? Or?
It was actually about 70 cents lower. I think last year was 62.
60, it was 62 even, yeah, last year. So it was 61.45 this year, so down.
And if you happen to run into a bind, you can purchase from somebody alternate or?
Well, if we run into a bind, we always just get it from the state DOT and then we
Reimburse.
reimburse them.
Okay. Okay, call the roll, please.
Krogman?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Letter E, action to approve agreement number 17-65, a letter of contract for design and bidding services between Brookings County and Banner and Associates Incorporated for Bridge Preservation Project BRF 6361, parentheses 0017-1, PCN number 06H7, structure number 06-150-219.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Bartley?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Action to approve agreement number 17-66, a letter of contract for design and bidding services between Brookings County and Banner Associates Incorporated for Bridge Preservation Project BRO 8006, parentheses 0017-2, PCN number 06H8, structure number 06-176-050.
Move approval.
Second.
And a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Pierce?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Action to approve agreement number 17-67, a letter of contract for design and bidding services between Brookings County and Banner Associates Incorporated for bidding service between Brookings County and, for Bridge Preservation Project BRF 6317, parentheses 0017-3, PCN number 06H9, structure number 06-220-190.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Miller?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Letter H, action to approve agreement number 17-68, the 2017 Emergency Management Performance Grant Subaward Agreement, amendment number 1.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion second. Any background here, or?
The background on this is every year the state of South Dakota, we do the state and local agreement in September, which you guys will do at the next meeting for 2018. And then at the end of the fiscal year, they come back and figure out how much money is actually, if there's any money extra, and then they send out this amendment that if you agree to whatever is in the amendment is the money that they'll cut a check to us for.
Okay.
So it's just finalizing the final payment is what this agreement is. So.
Call the roll, please.
Krogman?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Action to approve a request by Rad Boardman to conduct a fireworks display on Saturday, September 9th, 2017 at dusk at 21876 467th Avenue, Volga, South Dakota. Do I have a motion?
Move approval for discussion.
Second.
And a motion and a second. I believe Stacy's got some background on this.
I did visit this is in the Brookings Fire District area that they cover, their region, and I did talk to Chief Daryl Hartman, and he did not have an issue with that. He did say, though, that after the commission, or when the commission approves, or if the commission approves this, he would like the applicant to come in and fill out a permit with the Brookings Fire Department so that they have all of the details and that they're aware of what's going on. And I did contact Mr. Bortnam with that information, and he didn't have an issue with that. And I'll be in contact with him again after today if you approve this request so that he knows that he can go and get that permit with the Brookings Fire Department.
I guess the only concern I have, having lived out of town where fireworks are legal, is how late they can shoot fireworks off. I know the sheriff's department sometimes ends up answering calls when fireworks are going off at midnight when people are going to sleep and different stuff like that, and we're talking at a time that's not normally fireworks go. So is there anything that we have that says, okay, you can have the permit, but you're done by 11 or something like that, you're done by 10, you know?
I think you could put stipulations on that if you would like, and then I could pass that along to the fire department so that they can put that as part of the permit. I would share that with Mr. Bortum as well. I know this is part of a wedding ceremony, so I don't know that it's not something they just want to have a fireworks display to have a fireworks display, but it's part of a wedding reception. But that's, I think you can do that. I think that you're within your right to say you can do it from, dusk until a time.
Well, and I'm guessing our sheriff's department will get, unless they inform the neighbors, the sheriff's department is probably going to get a call of something's going on here because it's not within our time. So I think, putting on, I'm not sure how big it's going to be. I don't know when they're going to do it. I'd hate to have them start at 11 o'clock or something like that.
Well,
It says at dusk.
it says
Dusk,
dusk,
okay.
so that's going to be somewhere between 9:30 and 10, I would assume.
Earlier.
It's pretty dark by 9:30
Yeah.
nowadays,
Yeah.
9:30.
So, I would hope that they would be done by 11 o'clock. It's a Saturday night, so that's a little different than a regular work night. But
Right.
still, you have to get up and go to church.
It's a,
I'd like to commend them for at least doing the right thing
Yeah.
and approaching us with the,
Yes.
I mean, I don't have a
Ask.
problem with it. I'm worried about nobody really knowing that what's going on at that time because it's not a normal fireworks time. And so then we're sending our county employees out there to answer questions or to check and stuff. And so if we said have it done by 11 o'clock, and they get a call, maybe our dispatchers know that this is what it is and it'll be done by 11 o'clock. I don't know if that's out of line or not.
11 o'clock is late enough.
I think so.
Oh, yeah.
too.
I was thinking 10:30.
I think 11 would be.
I agree.
I'd like to make an amendment to the action to approve the request contingent upon a proper permit from the fire district and an ending time of 11 p.m.
I'll second that.
Get a motion and a second amendment. Call the roll, please.
Bartley?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Back to original motion. Call the roll, please.
Pierce?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, regular scheduled agenda items, it's 9:30. Second reading and public hearing of ordinance number 2017-03, an ordinance providing for amendment of ordinance number 86-02 of Brookings County, South Dakota, for increasing the wheel tax for vehicles over 6,000 pounds. I open the public hearing. Any proponent would like to speak in favor? Any proponents would like to speak in favor? Hearing none, opponents. Is there any opponent? Any opponents would like to speak? Hearing none. Action to approve ordinance 2017-03, an ordinance providing the amendment of ordinance number 86-02 of Brookings County, South Dakota for the increasing the wheel tax rate for vehicles over 6,000 pounds. I close the public hearing at this time.
Move to
Look.
approve.
I get a motion and
Second.
a second. Any discussion or questions? Pretty self-explanatory.
And the reason that we're doing this is not that I like to tax our citizens, but this will give us another edge in the point system that we have to abide by for the DOT to get grant money for our bridges. And that's the only reason we are doing this.
Any other discussion? Call the roll, please.
Miller,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
Bartley,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
motion carries.
Back to regular business. Letter J, action to appoint a member to the Housing and Redevelopment Commission to fill the unexpired term of Stevens Chapel. We have,
I'd like to move for the appointment.
Before you do anything, sorry, Ms. Dempsey called yesterday and asked to remove her application. She's no longer able to participate on the board, so she asked to have her application removed.
Well, that makes it an easy decision.
And before we do a motion, I just want to ask this question. I think in your report, Stacy, it said that it runs through April of 19. Is that right?
Yes, and then after that, I know we're trying to get on our January rotation, and we're working on that, and for the full appointment, we'll get that one to run through a December time frame.
So this one will run through April of 19. We're not going to change it so it runs through December of 18 and then start?
No, because
It's finishing Steve's.
because it's finishing his, and then we'll start with a full term to end on that December time frame. So Michelle and I are well aware of that, and we're trying to get all of those to that. It's just hard to have this one end when it's filling out the rest of a term for several months, so.
I would move that we appoint Ellie Vandenberg to that spot.
Second.
we got a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Krogman,
Aye.
Bartley,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
motion carries.
Letter K, be it noted, Chairperson Jensen appoints 2 commissioners to the Brookings County and City Joint Jurisdiction Committee. So do we need I don't know if we needed a motion and a second, discussion,
No, we don't need a motion.
any?
Yeah.
You just appoint.
I guess I've had input from all my fellow commissioners. I've had some public comments, and been thinking about this for a couple weeks. Kind of a tough deal. But I would like to appoint Commissioner Pierce and Commissioner Bartley to the Brookings County and City Joint Jurisdiction Committee. So, move on to letter L. Be it noted, Chairperson Jensen appoints 2 commissioners to the Brookings County Outdoor Adventure Center and Advisory Board. Also had some input here. Like Commissioner Krogman, I'd like to appoint him, and Commissioner Miller. And I'd like to add that I would like to have been on either one of these, but I will be an alternate to either one if somebody cannot make a meeting. So just to keep us informed. So
Thank you.
letter M, review strategic plan for progress.
Part of the strategic plan says that we will review it in August each year to see that we have been following through with everything that needs to get done. So this is our last meeting of August. So this was we made updates in March of 2016. So it was included in your packet, and if you've had a chance to look at it, if there's anything that you see of particular note that you'd like to change or add or whatnot, now's the time we can do that. So I looked through it and nothing stuck out to me. So otherwise I would have mentioned that. So
Any commissioners have any concerns or?
Have we, in item goal number 4, objective number 3, discuss a water drainage master plan for Brookings County?
That's all been on hold for quite some time,
It has.
and not due to anything that we have or have not done.
Where's
I
that
think
now?
we were waiting for the state.
We were,
We're waiting
yeah.
for the state to come back
Yeah.
with if they were gonna put water or drainage districts together on the basins of the Sioux River and all the rivers that we have, and it sounds like that's not going anywhere fast.
Right, that's not going to happen.
Yep.
So I'm wondering if we need to have a conversation about whether we want to do something with Brookings, for Brookings County in that regard. And I've had just a little bit of conversation with Spence Hawley on this issue, because he still continues to work on that. And he would be willing to come and talk to us. I think I reported that back to you one other time. And this would be an issue that he would be willing to come in and say what's going on, and at least we could have a discussion about whether or not we're at a point where we should be taking some action, or we become knowledgeable about what the state's doing, and maybe have some input into what's happening at the state level.
Mr. Chair, I would love to hear what's happening at the state level. I have been in disarray over this for several years, almost ever since I became a commissioner. The fact that we don't have an ordinance, we don't have anything as far as drainage goes in this county, and I'd love to hear what the state has to say. So when he's willing to come and talk to us about it, I think that'd be great.
I can reach out to him and have him, give him some future agenda date or meeting dates and fit him into an agenda when it works for him.
That'd be great.
Yep.
Any other areas of discussion? Stacy? Okay. Okay, moving on, Commission Department Director Report.
My report was included in your packet, and I'll just go kind of over the bulleted items first. Beta's executive director, Brenda Schweitzer, had nominated Brookings County for the South Dakota Transit Association's Friends of Transit Award, and Brookings County was selected to receive that award, which I think is fantastic. And they're going to be giving a presentation at a conference that Beta attends. It's Sunday, September 10th up in Grand Forks. And Brenda had reached out and said if there is a commissioner, someone who would like to attend to receive that award on behalf of the county, then I can work those details out with her. So I don't know that I have the exact time that day, but if
I think
there's...
it's a Sunday morning breakfast presentation.
Okay.
After their meeting on Saturday, so, I mean, Commissioner Krogman's liaison to Beta is, if you're interested, or,
So you said
September 10th.
10th is Sunday.
I will be out of town.
I don't know if anybody else is interested, if happen to be in that area, or else I can look at mine and see if I can attend. It'd be great to be there, I mean, to accept this. I can try to make it work in my schedule. If I can't, appoint somebody to go.
Okay.
Okay.
And we already discussed the general fund surplus analysis information. I do have that as part of my report, just to take a closer look at that, where if you look at July's kind of across the board, we were just shy of actually 33% for this past July. We were only at 20 in last year, 13 in 2015, 30, 35, No, 26. This is one of our higher months, so we're in good shape, I believe.
Makes me very happy.
Nope.
There was some additional information on the Conservation District tour. That's this Wednesday. It's tomorrow. We're meeting at their building north of town, and the tour starts at 9:30, so they're asking that people arrive about 9:15 so we can get everybody together and be ready to go right at 9:30. So, and I think I'm planning on all of you attending that, I think. So, and then there is a lunch at noon. The tour's from 9:30 until about noon, and then they'll have lunch back at the building at noon.
I will not be at lunch.
Okay.
Beta meeting
Okay.
to go to at noon.
He received an invitation from Otter Tail Power about a public open house for their Astoria station. That's coming up next Monday, the 28th, in Astoria at the Astoria Auditorium. I've included the SDACC proposed resolutions, and the policy statements are included in your packet. This is what we will be going over at convention. We've typically done this kind of at the end of day one. This is going to be the very first thing that the different associations throughout the state will meet and gather, and it's the first thing on the agenda on that Monday morning. Commissioners Miller and Jensen were at the 8-county meeting last week, and Commissioner Yeager from Dual County, he is on that exec board. He kind of reviewed those as the exec board had met, I believe earlier this month, to review those as well. So he sort of went over those with the full group on last week too.
Stacy, do we want to get together at some point just prior to that and discuss our thoughts on those resolutions?
There really is only the one resolution. There is only one. So if you want to, as a group while you're out in Rapid City, discuss that one, or if you want to discuss.
There was 6 resolutions submitted by, was it Lincoln?
No, Minnehaha.
Minnehaha
And
would-
I'm certain that something will be brought up on the floor. Because they
There
can do
was,
that.
yeah, there was 6 resolutions that were submitted a day late to to Pier, I believe, to get on the resolutions committee, which is now the exec board for the association. But they do believe that on the floor, that's during that general session at the end of the day on Tuesday, that some, if not all, of these resolutions that arrive late may be brought onto the floor, may be brought up on the floor that day at that meeting. So I don't know if we'll have a chance to see those ahead of time. I'm afraid we won't.
Not very much, although I think they have to submit those a little bit ahead of time. But we won't have a lot of time to deal with that.
This, a resolution that's in front of you, is the only resolution that passed through the resolutions committee currently. But like I said, there may be some additional ones that are brought up on the floor the last day of the convention.
Well, bring your cowboy hats and ropes, because it's a Wild West Roundup, and they do dress in costume for this convention.
That's a pretty easy outfit compared to some years.
Yeah.
It is.
I remember dressing up as Tinkerbell one year.
I
So
even got my
cowboy
chaps-
boots and a hat will
I
be
even got my
pretty
straps
easy.
extended because I'm so fat that I can't get into it.
I'm sure that's in
So
there.
I'm ready.
The
Yeah, they.
Yeah,
quite
Yeah.
there's
often
a
they-
theme.
we
when
wore
there is a
that
theme,
for-
it's a
for what event?
Wild West
The
theme
convention.
this
It's
year.
a Wild West theme. We wore poodle skirts my first
Yeah,
year. I
yeah.
think.
There was a 50s theme one year.
Yeah, you bring guns.
This year it is a Wild West theme, but I have the most recent agenda up now. Let's see. It's at 9 o'clock is that first general session, and then we break into our caucus groups, and we're the Sioux Valley group in Rushmore E, and that's right, one of the very first things at 9 o'clock on Monday morning, so.
And where we actually dress up, that's in the evening.
Yeah, the president's reception typically at the end of that first day
Yeah,
is where they do give out awards for
costumes,
costumes.
absolutely.
So if you want to dress up, in the past, Brookings County would dress up and we would win awards as we would go as a group.
Yes,
but there
and
hasn't been anything recently. The themes
was
have been a little
difficult.
bit difficult, but this year it's
This year should
pretty
be
simple.
easy. I think should be really easy.
We gotta compete against the
You
actual
think of the
Cowboys.
theme.
That's the thing.
Bonanza, or,
You want to be hotspot, right?
I don't care.
Okay, are we done with that?
Yep.
Okay. Bob Hill, after he came back from the NACO convention, he gave me all of the NACO adopted policy and resolutions, and there is a very large 64-page document that you can peruse over when you get a chance. And then he also sent an article to me to share about ham radio operators. So, quick, before I get into some of my other things that might take a little bit longer to discuss, I have my upcoming dates, the Conservation District Tour. There's a meet and greet on Thursday at Duanink in Watertown. That's a business up in Watertown that had sent an invitation a while back. The Ottertail Power Open House, as I'd mentioned, on Monday. Tuesday, there is a retirement reception for Brookings Police Chief Jeff Miller here next door at the community room. I believe they're going to have a presentation at 3:30 as part of that reception. September 4th, Labor Day. County offices will be closed that day. We have the dates for Fall Convention out in Rapid City, September 17th through the 20th, are our travel days included in that, and then the Juvenile Justice Summit. And I think we had mentioned before that part of that that's going to be difficult because one of those days is a commission day. So, the other information that I had was to review kind of the jail expansion timeline again. Heard from Bruce Schwartzman, our architect with BKV, and they are going to present, I think it has been mentioned before, that at your next meeting on Tuesday, September 5th, they're going to come at 10 a.m. and give a presentation, show some of the renderings that they have come up with and again, that's September 5th at 10. After that, we're going to have a town hall. I don't know, people are calling it different things. A town hall, an open house, a public hearing type meeting on September 11th. It's a Monday at 7 p.m. It's going to be here in the commission chambers. So I think we have to kind of decide what, and maybe the jail expansion committee can help with that too, about kind of how you want that to look and how you want that to run, if you want to have a time where people can come in and just openly ask questions of the architects and of the jail expansion committee members and of the commission, and then have a time for the public to speak directly to this board, as you will be the ultimate decision makers kind of after some time on that. But I want to start noticing that meeting now or as soon as possible. So, I'm going to put it in all of our legal newspapers. I'm going to put something in the shopper again, get on the radio stations again. Is there anything else? Our website, our TV channel.
Did you say September 11th?
September 11th,
At what time?
7 p.m.
And where are we going to do that at?
Here.
In this room?
In this room, yes.
Okay. Because I'm only asking that because the city is having their master plan committee meeting to approve their comp plan, the advisory committee that night in here, and I wanted to be sure that there wasn't
I'm pretty sure I'd already reserved this room.
okay, that's
I'll
why I'm
double check
asking.
on that. I'll
Okay.
double check on it.
Okay. And we may be next door for that, but
Okay.
just wanted to be sure.
Yep. I'll double check on the room.
And I think we should be calling that an open house. What do the rest of you think?
Similar to what we had last time.
It's not a public hearing
No.
because we don't take
No.
testimony or,
Is there a specific time that you want to take comments from the public, or do you just want to just mingle throughout and not have a specific, time where you sit down as a group and ask questions, or do you want people just to be able to ask questions throughout the evening? Or, because I'm thinking if you say it starts at 7 and at 8 o'clock we'll have a time, for
A
specific
question and answer
questions.
time?
Yeah.
I think last time they gave a presentation and they opened up the question.
Presentation and question and answer time, say an hour into it at 8? Or is that too late?
that might be too late.
7:30.
7:30? Okay. Anywhere else that you want me to advertise? I mean, when we put this on our website, it goes out to our Facebook pages and our Twitter accounts, and anything out, anywhere else that you can think that I should be putting this, other than newspapers, our website, Facebook, TV channel, newspaper, radio?
Stacy, did we have a sign-up sheet at the last open house at all for people to sign up who attended? Did we have one of those?
I don't remember. I don't
remember
recall
if
if we
we did.
did.
Do we have any particular sign-up list at all of interested parties in this particular, that have voiced an interest in the project that we could just send a personal email or personal letter to? Whether it be
No. No, we don't have a
Historic
list.
Preservation Committee or Traffic Committee or those types of committees to come and look at this so that they get a notice in addition to everything else we do. Maybe those committees get that invitation.
Said traffic committee, said
Well,
traffic safety
I don't
committee.
know. Altogether, you got Historic Preservation, Traffic Committees weighed in. Those are two that I could think of already that weighed in. Possibly, there are others, City Planning and Zoning possibly, County Planning and Zoning possibly. All those interested parties, if they at least get a letter saying we're having this open house, and they'd have an opportunity to weigh in if they'd like. Yeah, there's always somebody that said I didn't know about it. So if we can try and cover all the
But that's
bases.
why we do the public notice.
That's why we do the public
Exactly
notice.
right,
So
and
if you
at
start
some
changing
point-
stuff and make special exceptions for
Right.
groups, then
Okay.
if we miss somebody and said, how come you didn't
Exactly.
give me a
Yeah,
letter?
that's a good
Because I
point.
was interested,
How
so
come I didn't get a letter? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if we start doing that, not even on this, down the road,
On
public
everything.
hearings on everything, if,
Right.
conditional uses or anything.
We went above and beyond before with the radio ads and
And still
All
got
the-
accused of not noticing it.
So I think you stick with what we have, and what we're supposed to do, and if we're doing a little extra on public notice, but it's not directed towards certain groups, individuals, or anything, I think we're still
Covering our
providing
base.
public, everybody has opportunity to listen, read, or do whatever.
Yep. And then following that open house on the 11th, I can see the jail expansion committee getting together again to go over what they heard that night and coming up with a recommendation for the commission, who will ultimately make the decision on the 26th of September at that meeting.
Correct.
Does that sound
Sounds good.
okay? And then the last thing I have is, now with the OAC moving forward, there are a lot of things that need to happen in a short amount of time if the intent is to keep that building up and running past, we have the September 15th, on or before September 15th closing for that facility. And if we want to keep the doors open after that. We have some things that we need to do, and I guess now that we have two commissioners have now been appointed to that advisory board, my suggestion would be either, and you could do it one of two ways, either as a commission, have a work session and work through some of these things and see who's going to do what, or as the two commissioners on that advisory board, if we work together with some of the other players to start moving some of these things forward. And advertising for positions now on that advisory board, now that we have our two commissioners appointed, do you want me to advertise those positions today? I can, to get that advisory board started.
That nine-member board, or 7 more.
I think we better get it started.
Okay.
Because you advertise for 2 weeks.
Advertise for a couple of weeks. I can see you, I would say we would appoint at the end of September, the September 26th meeting. So September 5th is already 2 weeks away. It's not enough time. So we would give, notice to that. And I think the only position that you didn't want to advertise was the GF&P position, because they would probably appoint from within that group.
Are we advertising the law enforcement position, or is that one
That was the other one I questioned.
or Marty going to appoint, or what are your guys' thoughts on that?
What do you think, Marty?
I think we should, I know Marty would like to be on the board.
Well, why don't you leave it up to the sheriff to appoint then, if he wants to appoint himself, and then a substitute if he's not able to make it. We can do it that way.
Is that okay with you?
So we
Marty,
have,
you're appointing yourself? Okay.
so GF&P will appoint their representative, and Marty will appoint his representative.
I made a call to Emmett in Sioux Falls and let him know that we are moving forward, and that will give me a call back and work on potential office space renovations for them, and also who they want to appoint on their board. So I have not heard back from him, but I'm guessing I should hear something within a day or two. So,
Mr. Chairman, as it relates to this board, do we want to stagger do we have 9 people on the board? Is that what we came up with?
Yep.
Okay, do we want to stagger the terms, 3 years, 1 year, 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, so that we have a staggered appointment process in the future rather than everybody coming up at the same time? Or does this board not have any termination, or does this board have a length of service? We haven't written any board policy or board setup rules yet. Do we need
No.
to accomplish that? We could follow some other board we've established, but I think we need to make sure when we appoint, we know what their length of terms are.
I think initially you could appoint for a year, and then during that year, you set up, that board can establish lengths of terms
Good idea.
and can then set up kind of if they want to do staggered terms, they can decide that, amongst that board. I think it might be easier than this board trying to make that determination. Most of our boards and commissions that we appoint to do have staggered terms. Extension does not. It's all member reappointment annually. So it's done both ways, but I think you leave that up to that OAC board once it's established. I think we start with a 1-year term to start, and then you can go from there.
What would be our effective date for the board to take over from the transition committee?
Closing, isn't it?
Date of closing, September 15th we close. September 16th, it's ours.
I understand, but if the board doesn't meet until the 16th, we have to have some things
Board won't
taken
even
care
be
of.
appointed until September
That's the deal. We got
26th.
the
Till September
26th.
26th
The
before it's appointed.
26th will put the people on the board. If they should have a meeting shortly after the first week of October, in my opinion.
And I could write that into the notice too. We could set a meeting date now and say the first meeting will be this date. You know, here, this is, you know, advertise for the positions and say this is the first meeting date. That can be right in our advertisement so that they know that
Meet.
that there will be a meeting immediately once this board is formed. So
Monday the 2nd? Yeah, in the evening? Okay, let's look at Monday the 2nd of October. We'll do let's do a 7 o'clock. And then at that time, we will put together a schedule for regular meetings. We'll probably need to look at bi-monthly to begin with potentially monthly down the road, I would guess. If not, you know, first 3 months, I suppose, as called. Maybe we'll do it that way, as scheduled. After that, as we get moving forward, get employees and get a schedule going forward, we could look at a time when we need to meet. So let's go Monday the 2nd at 7 o'clock.
And that would be out at the OAC.
Yes.
Who is the transition committee at this point? I forgot.
we don't have one.
Okay, so we don't have a transition committee. We take over on the 15th. How are we planning to keep the doors open on the 16th, 17th? Until we get the board's first meeting, do we have an opportunity to employ somebody to make sure that, you know, if you're not hiring until we get to that board level, we got a gap there that I'm concerned that the people out there are going to be concerned we're not taking care of. So either a transition group or at least our appointed members can act to hire somebody in that interim period until we have the application process done. I'm just worried that, you know, on the 17th, what happens until we get to the October, and then what happens from October when they meet until we effectively put some plans in action. Can we just rely on our appointees to be the committee at this point? That's
I
the
think our
transition?
two representatives,
Okay.
I know this is what Stacy's concerned about also.
Yeah.
What if we, if Commissioner Miller and myself and Stacy met and were considered the transition team, I think it's prudent to have the two commissioners that are going to be on the committee be the transition team.
Yep.
I agree.
And then we should meet with Stacy and go over the list of information that we're going to need. And from the OAC board that's currently doing that, we did receive a letter from them stating they would help us in that transition period. And so we have things we need to get done, letter to the current members,
Yep.
meetings with the current volunteer groups, those types of things. So maybe if we got together here in the next day or so and put
Yep.
a list of things that we need and things to get going, we can kind of put a game plan together.
Yes.
I think Commissioner Bartley brought forward a good timeline too, some concerns, but Stacy, if there's any other staff members you think with the transition, I mean,
HR,
HR,
Yep,
IT.
Absolutely.
IT especially, yep.
Yeah,
So-
I can see Laura and Sean playing a part of this, as well as, you know, we would want to get Prisonia involved as well.
Okay.
So, do you want to schedule something for later this week now?
Sure.
And then
You
at
let
the-
me know. I'm
At that time, will you discuss any additional employees then, or you want to discuss that?
staffing. Yeah, we'll discuss all of that. What staffing we need, and
Okay.
be bringing recommendations back.
We were discussing, sorry, I missed that.
Nope.
At your meeting, you will discuss the need for employees, what'll be needed, and
Absolutely.
I have a list.
Yep, good. What about Friday morning?
It's fine with me.
I'm going to go 8:30.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. We'll
You
meet
just want to meet at
8:30.
my office?
Yep.
To get Sean involved, our IT person, in
Yeah.
the security cameras.
Yeah. The
It's my
security system is the same system that we have at the sheriff and in the courthouse currently, because we were able to go out there last week, and so at least we're familiar with that system. So
But I think we need to change things. It's my understanding there may be some individuals that have access
yes,
to the cameras on their cell phones and things like that. So I think we just have to
yep,
check
we'll
that
have to take a
security.
look at all of that.
Yep, okay, thank you.
Is that something off hours or late hours when we're not there that can be, people can watch that? Like I said, I'm sure they're watching on their cell phones. Is that something your department can be plugged into?
Yes.
Should Marty be on that transition team that we're talking about?
Well, the only thing I was saying is it's probably,
Be a resource.
well, exactly, that's what I would say is we're going to have a lot of different things that may not there. And so maybe us as the transition team could work through it. And then if we have a meeting out there with IT and yourself as that stuff, we can get you out there at the same time. You okay with that?
Do you see on Friday, if we meet, do you see a need to go out there to take a look around on Friday? No? Okay,
I don't think so.
I
Okay.
don't think so either. I think we just need to get set up how
Yep.
we're going to do this.
absolutely.
Is
Okay.
there any concerns with the bank? Do you want to invite anybody from the bank for the transition? Is there anything needed there?
I think we need another reference type of person that, personal property and different stuff like that. I think they're going to be involved in making sure the stuff that's there is there, and that's what's supposed to be there. And then we just got to make sure we're on the same page. So I think it's something we just have to keep them in touch with. If we need them, we'll give them a call type of thing,
Okay.
especially towards closing.
Have we received those two lists yet, the membership and the volunteer list?
No. I have not.
Will you request those for our Friday meeting? Would you be willing to do that?
Yeah.
Request the membership list and the volunteer list. Maybe that's from the bank. It's probably who you need to make that request from.
Okay.
And on your list on Friday, you guys are going to do what you want. I don't think it's too soon for us to have a letter drafted that we're going to send out to the members and the letter drafted that we're going to send out to the volunteers. So as soon as we have those lists, because we're going to want somebody off that volunteer group, I think, on the transition team eventually.
And I can start, I'll start drafting letters even before Friday.
Good.
So that we can just take a look at something and have something just to review quick and have ready to send out.
Is they're already getting a letter from the OAC.
Seaboard.
Yeah. So they'll at least
We can
have a
communicate
heads
when
up.
that letter's going out.
Yes.
I can't remember the deadline they gave people to notify them in that letter. So.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. We'll have to check it out.
Okay. That's all I have unless you have any other questions for me.
Okay. Deputy State's Attorney report.
As Sheriff Stanwyck said, we do have a jury trial this week. We're continuing to stay busy in our office, and other than that, I have nothing else to report or add.
Thank you. Commissioner Pierce.
On August 14th, we had our special executive session. Also, on the 16th of August, I attended the BEDC meeting, and at that meeting, Al Hooten asked if the county had received the census form to complete, and I was curious if Stacy or Larry got that form.
Yes, we received it. It's actually had Ryan noted as chair, I think, just from a couple of years ago. So it came to us. Jim Sampson, our GIS coordinator, is very involved with that process as well. So he and I are working on it.
Okay, and he just talked about how important that is for the form to go in, for them to be able to
Yes.
get grants in the future.
Yep,
So,
and it's on my desk.
the other thing that was talked about at the BEDC meeting, BEDC did a program at the Armory called Kidpreneur, and I don't know if anybody went to that, but it was an entrepreneurial program for children where they could bring whatever they wanted to sell. And the program was really quite nice. There were 40 kids that participated, 450 attendees that walked through. The kids sold over $2,100 worth of stuff. And one child, and I forgot to ask what their product was, got an invitation from a store, a retailer in Brookings, to be able to sell their product at that store. So they'll be doing that again. It was pretty nice.
It far exceeded what they anticipated, didn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
For people that participated.
Yeah, it was a good event for BEDC, and it gets kids thinking in the business mode, so that was kind of fun. Also on the 16th, Terry, Richard, Bob, and I met to work on the ordinances, and as Bob told you, we've got the administrative ordinance section ready to go to planning and zoning. We also have the lake section done, the natural resource done, commercial done, aquifer done, and we've started working on the ag section. So those ones that I said are done, those are ready now. They've been reviewed by whoever has to review them, and they're ready to go to planning and zoning. And I'm thinking that we have a meeting the third Thursday in September. Bob could tell me if I'm right on that, where we're going to be looking at some of those and maybe speeding up some of our process. What we have left to do, we've got to finish up the ag section, which is really kind of short, actually, because all of it is being put into a section called the supplemental section. That we haven't started reviewing, and that's going to take some work. We've not finished with definitions yet. So there are a few things like that we've got left. The ag part is going to be, the supplemental part of the ag will be something where we're going to have a lot of work to do, but those other ones are getting going. And then on the 17th, we had our special planning and zoning meeting, and it was truly unfortunate that our notice wasn't the way it was supposed to be. We had maybe 20 people. I don't know if you counted off the sign-up sheets. We had a lot of people that came to talk at that meeting. And whereas the motion was tabled, we won't be pulling that off the table because we'll have to have a new motion when we go back. What happened is the chapter numbers weren't right in our notice for the administrative ordinance. And so we have to renotice because we don't want to have another problem like we have with our current lawsuit where we didn't properly adopt our administrative section. So that'll be coming up. And then I think that's my report. Thank you.
Mr. Bartley?
Well, since our meeting on the 8th, I've attended on the 9th, the leader roundtable, and it was a good discussion. David Fleechuk was there from Avera Health and gave his thoughts and updates on the current medical facilities in Brookings and the general health market around the community and the state. On the 10th, attended a little bit of a golf tournament. We didn't do real well, but we did okay. On the 14th, obviously we had a commission meeting. On the 17th, the Joint Powers Board met. Nothing big at the Joint Powers Board meeting. We set up a few things anyway. Also had an East Central Behavioral Health Executive meeting that day. On the 21st, yesterday, we had a Mental Health Task Force meeting at noon. We're still working on specifics of items. One of the things will be coming to the City Council tonight, a request for some funding for 211 inclusion for Brookings County with a list of our providers that's a little bit more in depth and a little bit more comprehensive than what they have now with 211. So that request will be coming to the City Council this evening. If they approve it, it's for 2 years, and then the goal is to have another organization take over that funding for 211 in the future. So there's still a lot of other things that are still up in the air as far as the task force is finishing its work. It could be a year from now before we see that finish. And we had I had an East Central Board of Health Behavioral Health Board meeting last evening. That completes my report.
All right. I had on the 9th a meeting with the OAC board, then on the 11th, a meeting with First Bank and Trust concerning the OAC, and then the 14th we had our commission meeting, and then that was it after that. So that's it.
August 14th was our special meeting and executive session. August 16th, I attended the 8-county meeting in Clear Lake. Chris from the South Dakota Association of County Commissioners gave us an update on the convention. We voted at that time to include Spink County and Beetle County in our 8-county organization, so I guess we're going to have to call it a 10-county meeting from now on. We also toured South Dakota Partners in Clear Lake, and it was really an interesting tour. And they make they're a medical device manufacturer, and it's amazing. It's quite big in that small town, and it was really, really informative and a very, very interesting tour. On August 17th, we had joint powers. We discussed the safety drills, and we have a little bit of a problem when we have not only staff but public in the case of a severe weather problem. We have the public and staff in the basement and no bathrooms down there. So the bathrooms the walls are in and they're roughed in. So we decided that rather than spend a lot of money on a full bathroom, we would do a family type bathroom with, we'd get estimates for one toilet and one sink and see what we can do down there to remedy that situation. On August 18th, I went to the domestic abuse shelter, as I am on the budget committee, and I'm on the finance committee, and we worked on the budget for 2018. That's all I have.
Okay, on the 9th, had a meeting with the OAC at noon, a PPCC pod meeting. Later in the year, there'll be a full-scale exercise with, I believe we'll be going out like Elkton School to do some vaccinations. So, kind of interesting. On the 10th, attended the CDI golf outing with Commissioner Bartley and Stacy. And on the 14th, I attended our special meeting. On the 16th, the 8-county meeting up in Clear Lake. Like Stephanie said, toured that business. It was amazing. One of the individuals there actually designed some of the computer, the robots that were there doing, and it was amazing how they could put all that together and make it work. They're moving forward, and I think they had like 45 employees now, and they're hoping they've partnered with a new company out of California. They're going to start producing something else, and they hope to get back to 120, 130 employees. So, good deal for Clear Lake up there. On the 17th, Local Emergency Planning Commission met out the East Fire Station, and that's about all I have. So, look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Motion carried.